So I'm Kristen.
I'm Angela.
Hi there.
Hey, and I'm Kathy.
So good to meet all of you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on today. This is Stephen. I suck at names. I'm sorry.
Stephen West.
Stephen
Or
West.
Steve. I think you like to go by Steve, don't you?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It really doesn't.
Okay, awesome. And you are part of, I'm going to get this right, I hope, College Audition Pros? No.
That's Drew Boudreau, who's a friend of mine.
Oh, shoot.
We actually just met at Unifieds in New York this past a week or so ago. It's like New York City College Audition Coach is what the company is called.
Okay. That's the one thing I didn't write.
We'll use that as part of our bloopers by introducing you.
Okay, so
Great.
introduce again. So we have that, and I can cut.
Well, now I don't remember what he said.
It's early. It's early.
Now it's staying in.
Steve, it's live. It's live.
Oh my
theater,
God.
Right? It's live show.
Here you go.
What are we
sorry,
going to do?
Steve, I did this one last minute on them, and it's 8
Yeah.
o'clock. And
It is. Everybody
It's
has
fine.
dry tech today.
Yeah.
We had to kind of squeeze it in early.
Steve, why don't we do this? Why don't we let you introduce yourself?
That's a great
and
idea.
that way everything is super accurate and you can get across whatever.
We can stop screwing it up.
Yeah. And you don't have to rely on us crazy mamas over here to get it right.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so
I'm sorry. I need to apologize. I'm so sorry. I did do my research. Look, I've all kinds of
Oh goodness, you're fine. You're like I cannot tell you how fine it is. It's no big deal.
You should go drinking with us sometime.
Oh, man. Well, we're going to be in New York soon, so
Yeah.
be here before you know it.
That's really exciting. Oh, I keep kicking my ring light. See, that's what I'm doing this morning. Kicking my ring light. Let me introduce myself as soon as I balance this thing. Okay. All right, great. Now we're here. My name is Stephen West, and I'm the founder and artistic director of a company called New York City College Audition Coach. Which is, there goes my ring light again, which is a company that, just like any other college company, coaching company, helps students and families navigate the absolutely wackadoo college audition process. And part of that, because I know that you've had folks on the podcast that have talked about that process, but part of that process that I haven't heard on your podcast is the summer intensive situation, which there's lots and lots of... Yeah, there's lots and lots of options for what kids do whoever that kid is, right? What they do with their summers. And with theater kids, it can be pretty important if you have desires of studying in college. But even if you don't, I think it's summer intensives or summer programs, summer camps, they're an investment, right? And so why aren't we choosing very carefully and making sure that the program that we do invest our money in is going to be a program that's a right fit for the kid, and that's going to enrich their life as well as maybe their abilities and technique as a performer or a theater technician or whatever it is that they're into in the arts. So,
And this is about the time they would start. Do you audition for a summer intensive, or how does that work?
Yes. So it depends on the summer intensive, and I think if I can share my screen, I think I'm allowed to. Let me see if it works. I don't want to go crazy with the tech here, but entire screen, I guess.
yeah,
And then, yes.
Oh, yeah. Chris said you can email stuff to
Oh,
us we
okay.
can put up, too.
Can you see that? Did my screen come up?
It did, yes.
So in terms of, I'll start talking about this as loading up. In terms of summer programs, there's lots of different options that one can do. And it can start as simple as like a local high school will have a theater camp, right, for ages 4 through 13 or 4 through 17, right? And you kind of go from there, from like the local high school camp, and you kind of move on through that. But before you decide what you want to, what you're sending your kid to, you want to think about lots of things, but these are just some of them. Where you're sending them, how long they're going to be gone for, or how long the experience is for, any sort of COVID or health and safety concerns, of course, and then are you sending them to there to sleep over and stay, or are they coming home each night? And then obviously, and sometimes most importantly, the cost of the program, right? And there are, like I was saying, lots of different types. It can start at a local high school or some sort of local studio, right? And those experiences are oftentimes introductory. So there's probably not an audition. You just kind of register your kid and they go, and it's an introductory experience to acting or to lots of parts of the process of making theater. Then you can maybe, in terms of growing intensity, I guess, and financial commitment and just experience, I guess, you could think about sending your child to a sleepaway summer camp. There's French Woods, there's Long Lake Camp for the Arts that I worked at in the Adirondack Mountains, and these are usually fairly highly priced, and they're very intense because you send the kid away and they're doing eat, breathe, living theater all the time. And then professional regional theater companies often have camps. Those experiences, the training level can kind of be a little bit higher, and the talent level of the student. And then what I would consider the most intense, or here in red, would be a college prep or a pre-college program. Oftentimes, yes, you are auditioning for the regional theater experience or the college pre-college summer programs, and that is usually in the form of video submissions. Now that we are post-COVID,
Okay.
so yeah, that's kind of what you want to consider and what experiences you have available to you.
So those types of summer intensive programs, you kind of have them color coded. As you progress through those color codes towards the red, you're also increasing in age, right?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, a sleepaway summer camp is going to serve children very young to probably close to 16, 17 years old. But yes, as we got closer to the red, that would be a student that is, one, serious about their studies, and two, yes, more older than like 14, 15 would be the minimum age, usually more like 16, 17.
So those intensive programs are important for a couple of reasons too, right? Like, so it's not just the experience for the kids, but it's also getting them in front of people who could potentially want them in their programs, and what else?
Yeah, absolutely. So the college prep and the pre-college programs, it's all but a necessary part of the process, in my opinion. The exposure to the faculty is unlike anything else you can get, right? So you're going to this program and you're literally meeting people and working with them in a really, really intensive way in studio. And they're the same exact people that you're going to see 6 months down the road when you're auditioning for their school, right? And so they know who you are when you walk into that room, which that is an advantage that you just can't, you can buy it, actually. You need to buy it, which is, to be honest with you, like one of the unfortunate parts of this. It's like a pay-to-play thing. But it really does help your college audition prospects. I mean, we're looking at numbers like 0.75 to 1.5% at the most elite schools as an acceptance rate. Anything that you can do to help your kid be in a place where they're going to be have a leg up is wonderful. Do you have to do that? No, but it's helpful.
What does that compare to for like Harvard or something, like for an acceptance rate?
That's a great question, because Harvard's acceptance rate hovers around between 4 and 4.6%.
Wow.
And so it is significantly more difficult to get into musical theater school than it is to get into Harvard. And if you are a white female identifying person and you audition on average for 15 programs, on average you'll be accepted to 0.7 of them. That's not one. That's not one.
Right.
0.7 programs.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild.
That's a little terrifying.
So you talk
Right?
a
No,
lot.
it really is terrifying. You know, it really is. But that's why I think that this whole college coaching thing is becoming more of a thing, because you need help. You need help because there's so many schools and there's so many requirements and all the things that it is really difficult to manage for a student alone, and even with an involved parent such as yourselves. It's difficult to navigate the process.
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
I was watching,
picking up on
scrolling
that.
through your TikToks, and you kept saying it's the process that's crazy, not you. You say that a lot.
And that really is, it's the base of my business. I'm really big on being able to walk the walk and talk the talk and do the theater thing, but also encourage my students to have a life outside of the theater, because that will serve them in their work in the theater, right? We're supposed to play these characters that are all these different types of people. Well, if all you ever do and think about is theater, that's not going to serve you when you're trying to play someone else, right? You need to have different life experiences. And the process is crazy. So I try to instill a lot of mental health into the process and make it a process in which the parents can participate in a way that is as cheerleader and like, yay, this is great, as opposed to like taskmaster of like getting this and this and this done. Like I like to take that role on myself as accountability police, I suppose, and allow the parents to be the cheerleaders and to hopefully make this a celebration of who the student is. Because if they're trying to be anyone else in that audition room, that faculty will see right through it. And so really, while it is very intense and it can be nerve-wracking and all these things, I try to instill a lot of mental health into it and a lot of, let's celebrate the person that you are, where you are right now, right? I'm not going to make someone that's not the greatest musical theater performer into Sutton Foster. I can't do that, you know, but I can help you identify things that you are really wonderful at and help you pick material that's going to showcase that and help you walk into a room in a way that celebrates you and helps people realize that you would be an asset to their program. So that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, and I like that you, one of your videos where you're like, stay off social media, basically, is what you were saying to the kids. Like, your process is going to be different from their process, and their experience is going to be different from yours, and you can't keep comparing yours to theirs. I thought that was wonderful.
It's so true. A lot of kids, I think, I hear all the time, like, what summer program did you go to? What summer program did you go to? And there's all this hubbub on social media, and then it gets to the audition season, and it's like, where are my pre-screening, and what schools did I pass, and what schools did I not? And that is only going to lead to negative things. And so I encourage them. It's kind of ironic that I'm on social media telling them to not be on social media, but
yeah, but you got to go where they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. And that's where they are. And I love that they're there. I just think that it is best to keep your process between you and your family until you announce close to May 1st where you're going to be going to school. So
where in the process do you come in? They submit their applications and all that, and then you come in and kind of fine tune what they're going to present?
Yeah, so I usually like to start with a family. Well, first of all, I like to start with a family whenever they seek my services out. If it was an ideal world, they would start probably around now, maybe a little bit later, depending on the family and what's going on. But I have an initial consultation with the family, and we talk about, again, the realities of the process which we just covered. And then I say, like, okay, let's get rid of that and stop thinking about that and start thinking about how we navigate the way through this process for you as a family. College is as well as summer programs, it's a very personal decision for your family and for that kid, and it's going to be different for every kid. And so how do we carve a path to your kids' dreams that will help them achieve those dreams, but also in a way that when they move to New York or to LA or to some other market, that they can keep their own lights on and they're not drowning in student debt. Or it's really important to me that I try to give the most balanced view of the process. So it usually starts around junior year, toward the end of the year, junior year, and we start discussing schools that I think could be a right fit, and we generate a list of, reach, target, and safety schools. I'm sure you've heard those terms before. And then we go from there. We start looking at material, and then we're filming pre-screens by the fall. So
you're helping them figure out what they need for each school. Do they need a monologue? Do they need a ballad? All this kind of stuff.
Yeah. And the requirements, there is now a common pre-screen requirement that lots of schools are prescribing to, but a lot of schools will be like, we're going to do the common pre-screen except for this part, and this part, right? So I have like a massive spreadsheet that is kind of just like plug and play for families to use. That is really easy to put the information in that way. And then we'll be able to easily amass everything they'll need to film for each school. But that's a part of what makes it so difficult, is that there's all these requirements and they're often different for each school. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you, oh gosh, I just lost my question. Oh, you feel strongly about the slate, even like starting out. Like, don't just stand there and introduce yourself, but explain that, because I like the way you do that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, the slate is important because it's an important part of any audition, whether it's for college, for a community theater production, if they're having you slate in the audition, or a professional audition. It is the time for you to go into a room and to interact with people that you're going to be working with in a way that is not a character. So college auditions, they're not casting the characters that you play in your monologues and songs. They are looking for students to spend 4 years with. So it is important that you are, I like students to walk into a room and right before they walk into the room, think of something that makes them like really happy. So for me, when I walk into a room, I think of little babies and golden retrievers, because that makes me really like, I watch videos of that when I get sad. I'm serious. And so that's what I like to think of. But so put something in your head that makes you really happy, bring a good energy into that room, and then your slate is supposed to say, this is who I am. I'm really good at this, and I want to show you how good I am, and let's knock it out of the park. So
it's like Peter Pan and have a happy thought.
Yes, absolutely. Because they really do. I mean, these schools see video after video, or they see kid after kid in person, and they're terrified, and they're trying to do it right, and they're trying to give this coached performance, and they just want to see if the student is able to take direction and who they are as a person. And to be honest with you, the talent is either there or it's not. And so I would encourage people to worry less about getting all the notes right, or the steps, or the acting the right intention in the monologue, and worry about entering the room as you are, doing your material that is very well prepared. Like, we prepare so well that it's not, we don't prepare, I don't know what the saying is, it's like, you don't prepare to not get it wrong, you prepare so it can't go, I don't know, something, one of those sayings that you have to be really well prepared, but that's the baseline. Everyone's well prepared. I want to help students walk into a room, again, celebrating themselves and bringing joy and their love of what they do into that room, and to expose the faculty to that. So
yeah, because at that point, everybody's talented. You're not in that room if you're not a super talented person. So you have to have something that kind of makes you stand out a little bit.
Sets you apart.
Yeah, starts right there with the slate.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
That's one of those things too that I hear even from like directors when you're doing like an audition. They can hear that you're talented, or they can see that you can dance, that kind of thing. But what they can't tell is your personality, so like they're looking for some of those other things. And it sounds like they also are when you're auditioning for the schools.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to see if you're going to be a good fit for their program.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it's just important that you are exactly who you are. You're not trying to be anyone else, and that you, enter the room with joy and do your best work,
Okay, I'm still terrified at that 0.7% that get accepted.
I know.
It really is. I mean, the numbers are really, it's striking, and oftentimes it's for there's all this competition to receive a degree that is not an engineering degree or a medical school. You're not going to medical school. You're not going to, if you are a student that takes on debt, you're not probably going to pay that off right away easily, right? And so it speaks to how amazing this art form is. Like I've heard you all say, it changes people's lives. It changed my life, like on a dime. My entire life in high school changed, and now I have a career based on something that my life instantly in high school changed. And it speaks to how amazing this is, because the prospects of employment, the competition to even get into school is so crazy difficult.
Yeah, and one of your videos you posted some of the tuitions. I literally about fell out of my chair. If I had not been strapped in my car seatbelt, I think I probably would. And I wasn't driving. I was at the pickup line.
Right, you're in car
But
line.
it was like Carnegie Mellon was $80,000 a year. Like, that's out of control. And you were being very real with the students, saying it doesn't pay a lot when you get out of school, and you're gonna you really have to think about the debt that you're going to accrue.
Maybe in a $500,000 situation
4 years later.
Holy shit.
And it's I try to give students perspective on that, because I have seen so many people in this city, like, their debt shackles them. It really does. And it prevents them from doing lots of things, and lots of the human things, that are not even theater related, but they don't get to be a human being because there's that additional bill, right? So it's talking to students about, like, what is your cell phone bill? And then what is your rent going to be? And what is your grocery? All of that stuff it comes into conversations at the end of the process when we say, okay, you've been accepted here, 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 and here. Hopefully that many schools. Sometimes it's just one, or sometimes, but what do you want to do with this? And do you want to go to that $80,000 school, or do you want to go to something that's a little bit more affordable, but like low key, you'll get the same training, right? Like that school might have more prestige to its name, but what you need is a training. Schools can't get you jobs. Some of them can get you into a room. Some of them, like University of Michigan, Baldwin Wallace University, Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, Boston Conservatory, that will get you into a room. That won't book you a job. And they don't care where you went to school once you're in the room. They really don't.
Oh, that's an interesting point right there.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the same conversation. So my older daughter is currently in orchestra at an arts school in high school, and she's getting ready. She's going to be a junior, or she's going to be a senior next year. She's a junior now, and we're having these discussions about, okay, so what do you want to do when you're done with high school? Because I don't know that anymore college has to be the path. Like, what advantage does it serve for what you want to do is the bigger question.
Right, exactly.
Like, it's necessary. You're going to be a doctor? Yeah, go.
Yeah, exactly. You want to be a lawyer? Go. You want to...
But I don't know. Is it necessary in this field?
That's a great question. And as someone who coaches students through a process that, the aim most of the time is to land at a 4-year university or a conservatory style training program, I am really big on, in the very beginning, saying, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to. And that's okay. That is okay. That is fine. And you can participate and patronize the arts in many different ways as a doctor or a lawyer or a school teacher or a whoever. And so I don't, especially if I meet a kid really like well before they audition for college, I think sometimes they don't want to disappoint me or something. Like I'm proud of my students, whatever they do and wherever they go to school. So it is about what do you want out of life and how are you going to get it? And my job, if you do want to have theater as a part of your life in terms of what you're studying, is to help you make the most informed decision for you and to help you present your best self to the academic world, as it were. That's my feeling on that. And what you do with your degree, nobody really uses their degree. I don't know. Some people do use their degree, of course, but what you learn from theater, whether you're doing it at the community theater level when you're 7 years old or you're having a BFA in musical theater, you're learning soft skills, right? You're learning communication, you're learning team building, you're learning to show up on time and to work collaboratively. And those are, in the corporate world, called soft skills, right? Yeah. And those skills are important. You're not going to be a computer coder if you don't know how to computer code. But the technology is rapidly changing so quickly that everyone is constantly learning new skills. So if you go into that interview and you are wonderful to be around and you can read the room and you have empathy, all those things are what theater teaches us. So you might get a degree in theater and do something completely different. And I know, for as many people as I know that have like left the industry or left the city in ways that are not the most great, I know people that have left the industry and live in the city and make obscene amounts of money, and they are very transparent about the fact that they would never have that job if they had not done theater, whether they have a degree in it or not.
We've heard that over and over, that kids that participate in theater kind of have a leg up on the other kids because of all the things that you're saying, all the skills that they're learning outside of just the singing, acting, and dancing, just working with others, collaboration, listening to direction, all of those things.
And something I want to build out in my own business is to help students as they go through the undergraduate process of making sure that they are looking at those skills in a more serious way, and how they may be transferable to other industries, or how they can use them to propel themselves as entrepreneurs. Because now the thing is, I don't know if you've heard the term multi-hyphenate artist. You have to be able to sing, dance, act. You should probably tumble and yodel and, know sign language and all the things, right? But also you should be able to create content and have this social media presence. So it's about learning all of those skills and learning how to monetize them, so that when you get to a city, you don't have a job that is a survival job. You have a job that helps you thrive, that will help your work as an actor, because otherwise you're going to burn out really quickly, unless you're a really, 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 really dedicated person. But it's easy to burn out in these big cities.
Mm-hmm. So, Steve, a quick question for you. So, we're surrounded by kids, all of our kids, they love doing theater. We have friends that just got back from Chicago and New York and doing auditions and unifieds and all of these things. If the end goal, let's say, is to be on Broadway, right? These kids, they all want to be on Broadway. This is their dream. Is it completely outlandish? Like, do you need a BFA to be on Broadway? Like, is that something that they will look at and say, hey, this is great? I mean, I know you said certain schools will get you in the room, but does that degree do anything for you getting on Broadway?
That's a great question. I like to answer that question like this. It depends on the person. Mm-hmm. I needed to go to theater school because I was an athlete my whole life. I didn't do my first play until I was a senior in high school. Mm-hmm. And so I needed the training. I didn't know what I was doing, to be quite frank. And so I would have never worked as a professional actor had I not gotten that training. Can you get training outside of a 4-year degree program? Yes, you can. You can move to New York. You can move to Chicago. You can wherever. You can be in Florida. Where in Florida are you guys, by the way?
Lakeland. We're kind of between Tampa and Orlando.
Okay, for some reason I thought I read Winter Haven.
It's close to there.
Pretty close to that.
Yeah, we do things at Winter Haven as well.
Yep. That's where my parents, they were like snowbirds in Winter Haven.
Oh,
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyways, so depending on the person, and you go to Broadway shows and you'll see when you're here, if you're seeing shows, look at where they went to school. You'll see a lot of theater degrees. Most of the people will have a theater degree, but someone will have studied biology, or someone will have not gone to any sort of higher education at all. It is not a absolute requirement, but I think it's important for the student or the actor to know themselves. I needed the training, and it was important for my family that I have a degree, that I have a bachelor's degree in something. Yes. Which I think as time progresses, is that important or not? I'm not sure, but it was to my family, and so that's why we selected the college route. So,
Gotcha.
Okay. That makes sense.
Well, I always find college to be kind of a little training period between childhood and adulthood. Like you're on your own, but you're not completely out there stranded figuring it all out.
High school, you know everything,
right? Yeah,
and
supposedly, anyway,
you need to be beat back down a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's what college is there to provide.
Yes, and I think when you graduate college, you feel like you know everything, and then you go into the real world. Is like what I'm learning in my almost 37 years now is that I don't know a whole lot, but I know that I want to be a kind person and put that into the universe and lead with that, and just try and do my best. And we're all just figuring it out, anyways. All of us in any industry, in any, you know what I'm saying? Like we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
well, and speaking of that, I know you have a business and you're out to make money, but I feel like for you, it's almost as important. You're like the advocate for the kids. Like I can tell you passionately care about these kids and you want to give them good advice and you want to steer them in the right direction. Where does that come from? Where does that passion and that desire come from for you?
I appreciate you noticing that, because I really do feel that way. I come from a family of like my parents worked really hard when I was a kid, and they gave my brother and I a wonderful life, and we never needed anything. But I grew up in a fairly affluent area just outside of Detroit, and when all of the other kids, when we turned 16, everyone got a brand new car. My parents bought me a car, but it was like a 1992 Sunbird, which I am eternally grateful for. But I always felt like I wanted things, but my parents worked really hard to have give me private tennis lessons and to give me private this or send me here to do that. They refinanced their house to send me to college and to study at the Moscow Art Theater School in Moscow, Russia for a month. They worked their tails off, and so it's important to me that when I work with a family, I will go to bat and to bat and to bat and to bat for you, and I don't stop until we found the place for that kid and that family. And I don't like the relationship to end once they sign with their school. I have relationships with all the families that I've worked with into college, and I'm always here as a resource because it's hard. It's a hard major to get into. It's a hard business to get into. And so if there's things that I have in my head, yes, do I need to make a living? Of course I do, but they're in my head. I have it to share and I want to share it. So
do you feel their joys and pains as deeply as they feel them, like when they get accepted or rejected? Is that hard for you?
Yes, and I'm working on that. Each year it's like, oh gosh. But I'm getting better at it. But that's, when I lay my head down at night, that's why I go to bat over and over and over for each kid, because I'll know I've done absolutely everything. And I want them to know that they've done absolutely everything, because then it's not up to us. Mm-hmm. It's not. And that's a part of this process, and it's a part of life. There are things that aren't up to us, and we have to, roll with the punches, as it were. But the things that we can control, we should, right? And so we should do everything we can to achieve what we want. And if we don't get it, then we have to have a plan B. But,
Yeah, you talk about, I'm going to get the phrase right here, diversity, equity, and inclusion. You feel pretty passionate about that as well. And calling out schools that they say they're doing that, but they aren't necessarily showing it in some of the things they do.
Yeah, I think we are finally just beginning the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they're hard conversations that we are all hopefully engaging in every facet of our life. And the college theater world is no different. It used to be that you would look at a studio picture of a musical theater class and there would be like one actor of color. What is that, right? Like, that needs to change, and schools need to actively be recruiting students of color. And on the other side of that, like, and this might be a hot take or a controversial opinion, but like, what that will mean, to be frank, is yes, it will be more difficult if you are a white female identifying person. It will be, right? And that's your thing that you need to deal with, but in the grand scheme of things, it's where the country is moving and where it should move, and everyone is a part of that, right? So, and the calling out the schools thing is like, lots of schools are saying they're doing it and they're not, in terms of their curriculum. Like, what plays are you producing, right? And how many students of color are you accepting into your program? And I think it's important for all of us that are involved in the industry in any way, whether you're a coach, whether you're a faculty member, a parent, a student, it is all of our jobs to be vigilant about that and to play a part in that. So, because it will also make better art too, to have a diverse population.
Absolutely. Some of your advice, because I know some of these kids are applying to 20 plus schools, and beyond just the tuition they're facing is all these application fees. And you recommend, if someone is struggling with that, to write the school and ask for help with that. Can you explain that for us?
Yes. So there are these things called fee waivers. So I have a student who found me off of TikTok on her own, and she requested a meeting with me, and she was super transparent and very honest, and she just said, like, my family doesn't have a lot of money, like, I don't even know if I can have this meeting. And I said, of course you can have the meeting, let's talk. And this young woman is the hardest working person I have ever met, and she is at every turn doing every single thing that she can do to avail herself to these schools and to this process. And there is one particular institution that she applied to the school on a fee waiver. And she then went to sign up for an audition, and she was not granted a fee waiver. Yes, it was for her audition fee. And they wouldn't grant her a fee waiver. And she called the school and explained the situation, and they still would not grant her a fee waiver. Finally, there were some other phone calls made by some other folks, and she had that fee waiver by the time she got here to New York, and she went into the school to audition for them. But you might have to ask for it, but if you need it, it is now, for most schools, not that one particular school, and I won't mention the school, of course, but this ring light, you have to ask for what you need. And I think schools are getting better about availing that money to those students, because you don't need that student's $50. You really don't, right? And it's obnoxious to ask it of them, in my opinion, so.
Right, because you're paying an application fee and all kinds of different fees.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, you talked about Coalition App versus Common App. And
Coalition versus Common.
We hear about Common App a lot. Tell us about Coalition App.
So there are a few other things outside of the Common App that will allow you to apply for multiple schools on one application. The Coalition App is one of them. I know that the state of Texas has one. There are a few others out there. But the thing about theater people, or theater kids sometimes, is they will max their Common App application out. You can only apply for, I think, like 20 or 25 or maybe 30 schools, but lots of students will max that out. And so if there is a school on your Common App at the start that is also being accepted by the Coalition App, you want to get that school off your Common App so you can then put another school in its place, just to be able to apply, right? And I think bottom line, if you approach a school and you say, there's no room on my Common Application, how do I apply to you? They're not going to say no to your application fee and to seeing you, but that can be ways to alleviate your Common App, which often for theater students will fill up quite quickly because they're auditioning, like you said, 20, 25, 30. I had a student approach me this past cycle with 42 schools, and I said, no, sweetheart, we will not be doing that. But yeah, that's a lot of schools.
That's a lot of schools. And that will make you crazy.
And it's the audition process and all the requirements and all that artistic rigmarole, but also the academic application. It's basically applying twice to each school, and you need to be accepted on both ends to get into the theater school. And so that is difficult too. And oftentimes kids that are applying to arts majors are given more supplemental essays to write in addition to your essay for the Common App. So it's that part of the process too is an incredible amount of work. So it's intense, this scholarship audition process.
Well, and parents need to not wait till their sophomore or junior years to start understanding all of this. They need to be processing it and gathering information, and because
what's coming down the pipe helps you better implement when it's time.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I mean, honestly, like if you do start, I would say this might not be the best thing as a business person, but if you do start as a sophomore and you gradually learn it, maybe someone like me wouldn't be as necessary, or you'd only need a coach for the artistic things, right? Not the academic things, because if you do take that time, then you won't panic. Because I think what happens to parents and students is that they're constantly going through the process and feeling like they are catching up or they messed up and now they need to cover for that. So if you understand it from the start, that is a great leg up, and will do your student a great service in terms of their anxiety level and what they're bringing into the room eventually. But that can only help you if you are that prepared or start that early.
Yeah, and I think we forget because we're so involved in the theater and we have friends that are going through it, so we're hearing all this. There's a lot of parents out there that aren't. They're kind of out there isolated on their own trying to figure this out. Yeah. So having somebody like you to help them through the process is a real gift.
Yeah, and it's early preparation too. If your student says to you, I want to BFA in musical theater, and they're saying that in middle school, there are things that you can do to help start preparing them. And, like we started talking about in the beginning of this podcast, like I love when my students play on a soccer team. I love when my students go horseback riding and things like that. But if they really do want this, definitely start taking dance classes if you haven't started taking them yet, and voice lessons if you can. There are more affordable ways to do those things than the traditional, like, really high priced, the most expensive voice teacher in your community or the most expensive dance studio. So there's ways to expose your student to those things that will be important in the process and will help get them a leg up on the competition if they are identifying that they really want to do this in college at an early age. So,
Well, and speaking of, you have a pretty heavy dance background. I don't want to skim over all your qualifications. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
With
tell
me
us
in the
about your
dance,
experience.
like I move well, but I have friends that work at the New York City Ballet. I'm not a dancer. I move well and was an athlete most of my life, and so I think it's fun. Like, oftentimes, like, I'm rehearsing a show right now, and they're like, everything that is movement related, they're like, you do it. I'm like, what? Yeah, I just move well, and I'm tall, I guess. I'm 6'4", so I don't know. I have good lines, I guess.
It's all those tennis lessons,
Yes, exactly. It's all those.
Was that your sport? You keep talking about being an athlete. You were a tennis player?
I played soccer most of my life until high school, kind of, and then I started playing tennis in high school, and then I was the captain of my team, the number 2 singles player on the team, and I'd been playing on the team for 4 years, and I was the lead in a play, and I had my mom drive me from a tournament to the tech rehearsal, and that's illegal in the state of Michigan. If you go somewhere on a school bus, you have to return on the school bus, and I did not know that. And my tennis coach's response to that was to kick me off the team as a senior and the captain.
Oh my God!
It was, at the time, it was devastating.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really a terrible
it's a
thing.
little irrational to me.
Yeah, it's extreme.
Pardon?
That's extreme.
Yeah, it seems a little irrational.
And the director of the play went to her, my coach, and said, like, yes, he does need to learn a lesson about overcommitment, but he's a good kid. That's why he's in the situation, because he's involved. And she just wasn't having it.
Wow.
So,
Sounds like they made an example out of you,
They did. And in the end of the day, my counselor, my coach was actually a counselor, not my personal counselor at my school, but my personal counselor obviously knew her and was counseling me through this awful thing that I was going through in school. And she said, look, like, you're not going to be a professional tennis player. You don't want to do that. You do want to be an actor, and you want to go to theater school. So, it wasn't to say, like, oh, you're fine, nothing happened to you. But at the end of the day, it worked out. But it was, I also went to a very large high school. There's 6,000 kids. And so things were really competitive, and it was oftentimes difficult to do multiple things.
Yeah.
So
it kind of sounds like, in retrospect, not to get too deep here, Steve, but like it definitely sounds like that kind of needed to happen to spark and fuel your theater love. Who knows what would have happened if you stayed on the tennis team and weren't able to fully immerse yourself in the theater piece. So,
and that exactly, and I think I'm a firm believer in most things that happen in life that are for a reason, and they're there to, as a door closes, a window opens, and whatnot. So and it's the theater thing. I caught the bug so hard, and it's because of the community. My best friends from high school theater are still my best friends from today. Mm-hmm. Like, their children are like my children, and my heart beats outside of my body for their children, and we are still best friends. And also, our mamas were the drama mamas before the drama mamas were the drama mamas. Like, this is the podcast, but like, when we were rehearsing our final show, 42nd Street, and at 10:30 at night, our director is like, set your costumes and props. We're going from the top at 10:30 at night. Oh, I ran up, and the cast groans, and I stand up and I'm like, be quiet, set your costumes and props, we're going from the top. And run out to my primitive cell phone with my Nokia brick of a cell phone. And I'm like, Mom, we need pizza now. And they're like, 15 minutes later, here comes Jean West with all the pizza and like towels from our personal bathroom, like our family's bathroom, because you can't eat in costume. So she's like, put this on your body and eat it. And like we left at 2:30 in the morning, and there you go. And our friend Ashley's mom like designed our costumes. She literally had like a sweatshop in her basement for like a solid 4 months, and like made the most insane costumes. Like it's the community, and it speaks to when parents are involved, the impact that can make. And so I want to take a second to thank you guys. What you're doing for your kids is amazing, regardless of what they end up doing with their lives. It's really commendable, and this is just like the podcast is above and beyond.
Yeah. Listen, I want to meet your mom.
I know she needs to be on.
We need to have your mom on. We need to have a queen OG.
Right.
Yes.
Drama mama. She
Yeah.
can teach us
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Because Lord knows I do not know how to sew.
Oh, gosh.
And that's amazing. But that's what it's all about, right, Steve? And that's what you're trying to perpetuate and support with what you're doing. You know, it's
Absolutely,
just amazing.
yes.
Yeah.
Because if you do want to take this, because it's this nurturing environment, and if you want to then, it's kind of sometimes jarring that you take it from this like feel good place that's safe, and then you put yourself in the lion's den of this college audition process that's very competitive, right? And so I try to again encourage them to realize that you have a life outside of theater, and that will help you in your work as an actor, and also mental health, and making sure that your students and families are taking care of themselves through the process, and that it ends up being a celebration of that student and who the person that they are, and that hopefully the families have a little bit of fun while they're doing it. That's I think oftentimes
hard to do when you're stressed out.
It's hard to do when you're this, and you got dry tech, and you got to go here, and you got to go there. And I mean, like, you know, we're living that life now. We love it. We wouldn't trade it for the world, you know. Yeah. But it's all worth it when you see your child happy and thriving. You know.
Yes. Yeah. And that to kind of loop back to summer programs. So there's all those summer programs that are the types of experiences, but there's also other things that you can do, and specifically I can talk to you guys more about it when you're in New York, and I want to hook you up with the artistic director of the company, but we do something called the Broadway Experience, and what happens is you rehearse a number in Florida, and you take that number and you bring it to New York, and on Saturday you see a show that the artistic director does about her journey from California to here, and then that's Friday night, no, that's Saturday night. Getting out of myself, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Friday night is the show that you see Jackie do, and then Saturday you take that number and you go into a studio here in New York City and you work it with a Broadway performer, and that performer also performs with you, and then on Sunday the whole company comes together. So you have a professional music director and Broadway director and all of the groups from all over the country. There are several groups that come. You all rehearse at once, and on Monday, your students will go through the stage door at the Gershwin Theater where Wicked plays, and they will make their Broadway debut in a concert that Monday night.
Oh my gosh, I have goosebumps. That's
I
so cool.
That so
Okay, so when is it happening?
Yeah, if I can, I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but if I can just try to share my screen one more time, there's a wee video that I can share with you that will kind of sum up the whole experience. I think that our drama mamas and we as students would have like lost our minds, and it benefits autism awareness, so it's a good cause, and it's really a phenomenal. It's one of my favorite days of each year in my calendar. So
I bet.
Definitely send us that info.
Yeah, please do.
Amazing.
Please do.
Yeah, I certainly will.
You give a ton of info.
Stop sharing.
On TikTok. How can people find you on TikTok? Because I was having so much fun just watching.
I the TikTok bug, I got that one hard too. I was like, whoa, this is actually kind of fun. So on all social medias, on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and YouTube, which are horribly not taken care of by me, but it's all New York City and NYC College Audition Coach.
Okay.
NYC College Audition Coach.
Okay, and then let's promote your business as well. Tell us about how they can find you.
Yeah, so through all those social media platforms, and then at www.NYC College Audition Coach is the website, and you can book sessions right there. And that's how you get in touch with me. And I'll send you guys my email address and whatnot that you can put in show notes, I think, if families want to connect with me that way, too.
Awesome.
Because I'd like to just pay to hang out with you for a couple hours.
Well, we will. When you're in New York, we're going to hang out, I hope.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When
You
we're in New
take
York.
us, we can go get drinks. We'll have so much fun.
Yes, I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah, because you kind of embody what we're trying to embody, which is
Yes.
advocating for the kids, informing us and others so they can be successful, and just your positive spirit.
Yeah,
Thank
we are
you.
huge about positive, and you can pick that up on somebody,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
right away, and you just exude it. And so, yeah, we respect that immensely, and you're just fun to be around.
Jean West must be very proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
She is. I'm sure she'll watch this. So.
Good. Tell her we said hi.
Well, you just did.
Well,
You just did.
she's the queen.
Maybe we'll FaceTime her when you're in New York together. We'll FaceTime her.
Oh my God, that'd be
Definitely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, well, we're certainly looking forward to that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to get some more information on that program and all that good stuff.
Yeah, help spread the word. And
Yeah. And you said you're in a show now? You're rehearsing now?
Yes, it's just a little educational tour. It's a theater company that I teach with, that I do in-school residency work with. We're touring to the schools that we teach at. So it's not a big deal per se, but it's just a show that I'm working on.
But
Every
that's
show's a
okay.
big deal. Every role's a big deal.
Yes.
Yeah, no, you're right. Anytime you get to perform in New York is a really big deal.
Absolutely.
No.
Thank you for that reminder.
That's what we keep hearing. You live in New York now, correct?
Pardon?
You live in New York now, in New York City?
Yes, I lived here. I went to school in Detroit at Wayne State University. I worked 2 years regionally at the Great Lakes Theater Festival, which I was super grateful for. Learning how to go to learning how to go to rehearsal as work. Mm-hmm. It's no longer your avocation, it's your vocation, it's your job from 9 to 5, right? So learning to do that in Cleveland, in a beautiful, recently renovated theater that was really beautiful, and it's a big Actors Equity company, and Tom Hanks and John Lithgow had worked there. It was amazing. And then I moved here in 2011, which seems insane. Because sometimes I feel like I'm in middle school and I'm walking down the street. I'm like, where's my chaperone? What's going on? Life happens fast. You know,
does.
it's quick.
Oh,
She goes fast, this
yes,
thing.
I still feel like I'm in high school. I can't
I know.
understand what
Yeah.
happened.
No.
How did I
yeah,
get so
adults
old?
today are not adults.
No.
I think
No.
overall, we're all just kids, just,
Yes,
Pretending
we
figuring it
are.
out.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. It's okay. It's
got
gonna be
man
okay.
down.
It's gonna be fine.
Are you okay?
Yes. This is ridiculous. Sometimes when students, I think they get they're like, oh, New York. I'm like, seriously? I have a bike in my room. There's a bike in my room. You don't need to be nervous. There's a bike. I've had a great career. I love my job. I'm good at my job. I know these things, but life is like that. Your camera falls sometimes, and there's a bike in your room, and your voice is tired because you're in rehearsal. So that's what happens sometimes.
Well, and kids need to see that. I mean, we're pretty transparent about what idiots we are. They need to see that people are just people, no matter what you are and where
we
you
see
are.
it all the time. The kids put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect, and it's
Yes.
nobody is, and they just need to realize that shit happens. And you just gotta. It's more about how you roll with it than it happening in the first place or not
Yes.
happening.
Absolutely.
And that is so true in an audition. You need to tell your kids. The most interesting part of an audition is oftentimes if the actor makes a mistake. Why? It's because they are actually present in that moment thinking, oh shit, I made a mistake. As opposed to, I'm doing what I practiced a gajillion times. That the actor, especially the student actor, is finally in the room with you when they're making a mistake because they're having to deal with it. And so it's not that I encourage my students to make a mistake at their college auditions. I don't. Right. But if they do, like you said, roll with it, and you're probably more present than you would be had you not made that mistake. So,
it's very true. Yep. Yeah. Be a smart actor.
So.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Smart.
And all of these little situations and things that we're exposing our kids to is only going to help them.
Absolutely.
Our 2 children are doing a Arts Alliance thing today at a nearby park that's here.
Okay.
And forgive me, I forget the actual name of it. But anyway, this was like a last minute thing that our community theater, was like, hey, would your kids come and represent us? So anyway, so we're doing that today. And that was a total last minute thing. And so our kids had to feel like, okay, what song are we going to sing? What's this going to be like? You got to get the track, And so all of putting them through that little pressure of, gosh, I got to do this right now.
Well, Pinky hates all the last minute stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, even driving her home yesterday, she was stressing out about it because she's like, I don't want to sing Lamest Place in the World again. It's such a hard song. It's like, you've been doing it for like 6 months. How is this still hard? And you got superiors at district and it's state and at all county, like on that song. Like just sing it.
Great.
She's like, but it's hard.
Kids are just wild,
Yeah, they're like, everything's a big pressure cooker to them.
Yes, everything's pressure, and they need to realize it's not the end of the world. You're doing this for fun. We're not being judged today.
Yeah,
we're just going up there.
It's experience.
It's experience, and I guess that's the point, right? I'm trying to make is everything that we can help expose them to is so important. For those
yes, and the Lamest Place in the World, this is a hard song. It's from 13. This is hard, right? But they're going to go and they're going to do it, and it's going to go however it goes, but they'll have done it, right? So to throw in another tennis reference, Billie Jean King says that pressure is a privilege. And pressure is a privilege, and your kids are learning to deal with pressure through all of these experiences. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. So,
any last advice or last piece of advice that you haven't shared that you want to share?
Oh gosh. I think people are often told if there's anything else in the world that you could think of doing that's not theater that would make you happy, you should run and do that. That's what I was told. I think that's fine advice, but I would add this caveat to it. If you can't think of anything else to do that would make you happy, you better at least try and do this and try and do it really well, because then you won't wake up at 40 and have like a quarter life crisis or a midlife crisis about having not tried, right? There won't be regrets in your life. So if there is something that you'd love to do, go ahead and do it. And if there's not, do this and work really hard and do it to the best of your ability. But then you won't have to say that you didn't. So that would be
my mom was good about that. She was not a drama mama, but I was an athlete. And she let me try anything I wanted to try. I did horseback riding. I did gymnastics. I did it all until I found what sticks. And so if you don't try the other things, you're not going to know what you really, really enjoy.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning with us.
Yes.
It's an early morning for all of us.
Yes.
This is great. No worries. Thank you.
I feel like you might have energy any time of the day, so I don't feel that bad about it.
Well, and if you don't,
I often do.
Time to go take a nap.
Yes. But you guys are going into tech today, right? You're going tech?
Yeah, we got dry tech today. 2 different shows. Kathy and my husband are doing Chitty Chitty Bang Bang at the Lakeland Community Theater, and then Angela and I are doing Into the Woods at Winter Haven's new Black Box Theater. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Tell your parents to go see it.
Yes.
Oh, then we can meet Gene in person.
I have to figure that out. But if they are, I'll tell them go.
Yeah, you could totally meet them.
We can meet Gene.
Get him a tour.
Yeah,
selfie with Gene.
Come find us. We'll be wearing black.
They're also always trying to get me to go down there. So maybe I'll just come down there. You'll come up to New York. We'll just have a whole thing.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Sounds fantastic.
Oh, we are your new besties and vice versa.
That's right.
So excited. Love it.
Oh,
thank you guys so much for having me on. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and taking your time with us.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Man, I want to go out with him.
I know. We're going to have so much fun in New York.
He's like, we'll meet up. He's going to hook us up with the artistic director. What?
Yeah.
Girl, we might need to. Have you paid for Destination Broadway yet? Because I have not.
No, not
Okay,
yet.
good. We got time.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, we need to get, because we haven't done the audition process. We haven't done like fucking anything. We just know we're going to do it this year.
Yeah.
But I assume we're getting down to it, so we got to get
something
done.
else pops up that we think is going to be better. Like, we're not sold on that. I mean, we
that's
had a good
true.
time last year, but again, it was our first time doing any sort of intensive.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to compare it to.
You know, it's funny because I didn't really think about it in the same kind of vein as like the ones that high school students are doing as they're headed into college.
Yeah.
But I guess they really kind of are.
Yeah.
They're like the stepping stones
they are.
through that.
And Destination Broadway has a whole separate section just for kids that are getting ready to go to college.
Oh, okay.
So they combine it. There's a whole seminar. We didn't choose to go to it because
Right.
we were young, obviously, so we're not quite there yet. But
You can probably leave that running for a minute.
But you can go ahead and attend that piece of it. That they did. There was quite a few. So it was broken up to like A, B, C by age group.
Okay.
So C is your youngest. So Gabs was in the C. And then B is like that middle school, middle age. I don't know, probably like 14 or so. And then A's were like your high school.
Okay.
It was the same kind of idea. You're
juniors.
with like professionals, with the Broadway people
Yeah,
and the
same
casting.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. This is just a different experience. I mean, depending on the time frame, cost, etc. I mean,
Feels like a New
potentially
York
do
trip
both.
for next year, depending on when it is.
Yeah, depending on what it is, absolutely. And if it's just a quick little weekend, if it's a Thursday through Monday,
It can be Tuesday
yeah.
because you perform Monday.
yeah,
night.
true. And then maybe you get in Wednesday, I don't know, or Friday's the show, so maybe you get in Thursday, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, we could potentially do both. I mean, I don't know. We just have to look at what else is going on.
Yeah.
And, if we decide to do Destination, LCT has their 2-week at the same time. So
Yeah.
it's like, what,
I know Pinky this year isn't planning on doing the ones that are local here. So she wants to do that. And if it's not that, then we'll probably look at what some of the regional theaters doing.
yeah.
Because
Strauss has one.
Yeah. Well, and I know Orlando has one too.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, like she's starting to realize, and this is great because for so long she was adamantly not wanting to go outside of this bubble because it felt safe, I think.
Yeah.
But she's starting to realize more and more that she needs experiences outside of this group. She needs to stop being the big fish in the small pond and start, trying to get out there and go through the process with new faces and new people and, because it's good from a learning aspect, but it's also like it can be really good for your internal ego, I guess, maybe to
Absolutely.
see what that is like when it's against different people for a change.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, this was like with teaching. I always thought of it. You got a little something from every teacher, a little something different. So if you expose yourself to different directors and different choreographers, you're going to pick up something different from each of them, and then you're going to be this like super well-rounded person because of it. If you're always staying with the same person who may be fabulous, but you're not learning it in a different way.
Right.
So I think
That's
it's
so true.
Yeah.
It can't hurt to get different
Right. Absolutely.
experiences. Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Makes perfect sense.
means a
It's
little more
exciting.
time on the road and
Yeah.
commitment from the mamas.
Yeah, like it gets
Yeah.
a little bit
And
harder,
And that is,
especially if we can't convince our kids to all do it together. It
Right.
starts
Yes, it does.
difficult.
We can't rely on each
It's
other.
hard. Like our schedules right now, it's hard. Like as the show's ramping up, we're not together.
I know.
This time we're split.
This is our first time, you guys.
I know. And
Oh, we're getting well-rounded too.
We are. Oh my God.
but we need our kids to go get well-rounded together.
Yes, we do. They need to travel in a pack.
Yeah,
would
so
make
we
it
can
easier.
be well-rounded together.
Yes. Yes.
Selfishly.
I know.
I
A little
know.
bit selfish about that, yes.
I
Yeah.
know. It is. It's so hard.
Oh, goodness.
Well, it's
So
hard to
little
do this. I
depressing.
mean, that's
When
what
I
I
look
love so
around and
much
I'm like,
about our group is that we've found each other and we're our own support group.
We are. We are.
When you're stretched thin
Yes,
and we can
yes,
step
yes.
in and help like this weekend,
Yeah.
and help shuttle kids from place to place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important. It's
It
important to
is.
have that support
It
group.
is.
Yeah. You need it because it takes a village.
It really kind of does. And,
takes a village.
I feel that's part of like our mission is to help these parents who don't have the help, but there's this other part of it that we can't help with. And I hope they find their there are other parent group that helps them kind of have that piece that it's so necessary.
Yeah, and we're going to sound like a broken record, but the way to do that is to get involved. It's by volunteering, by getting your face in there, by meeting people, having things in common, and experiences in common. That's how you build relationships. You're not going to build it just dropping your kid off and picking them up.
That's very true, yeah. And honestly, if you're trying to help them navigate what it's like to actually do this professionally and to the process of ramping up to do that, you can't do it if you're blind. You've got to get in there and talk with the teachers and talk with your instructors and, get involved in tech and try to understand as much as you can understand, because every facet of that is important. And every person that you meet will tell you something new and more light bulbs will go off for you and you'll learn in that process.
Yeah, can I start as simple as something as volunteering at the front of the house to take tickets or sell raffle.
Exactly.
I mean, just meet people.
Just being present.
You just got to get out there and meet people.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, we experienced our little village just in the past couple days. So, Gab chose this other song to do for this thing today. And Jordan sent her the track. It's a little bit different than how Miss Frida plays it on the piano. And there's like this little space in the middle of the song it kind of pauses. And I guess it gives a little creative whatever for the vocalist to figure out what they want to do there.
To act?
Yeah, to act. Or, there's words. So
you
sing them or you talk them or I don't know. It's like an awkward piece. Gabby didn't know what to do with that,
What is she singing?
It's
I probably don't know it. I don't know why I'm bothering to ask.
Longlegs. It's like
because you do this face. Oh, that one.
Yeah, that one. That one. Sorry.
I know that one.
I so know that.
Oh, I love that song.
It's a super pretty song. It's called Like Other Girls. And
she definitely
sang,
know that.
She wants to do things like
we sang that together at karaoke, right?
Yeah, whatever. Exactly. Well, listen.
Wink.
Yeah, I didn't know it either. And I told Gabby, I said, you're picking a song that folks probably aren't going to be familiar with. But I think at the end they're going to walk away and they're going to be like, that's a really pretty song. Like, where is that from?
Right.
And you might
She's
open up and
exposing them.
educate. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So it works both ways, right? So anyway, so we got the track. She tried it the other night when she was home from rehearsal and she was tired and, she wasn't quite sure where to come in on the song because the track is different. And at least for her, at the time, she was perceiving it to be different. And so that just set it up in a snowball. Right?
Oh, yeah.
So
once they get in that headspace, it's dangerous.
Oh, yeah. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I don't even know why we attended
stressing herself out for no reason.
Totally.
That's what our kids do.
Yes. So by the time I put her to bed, she was like, okay, it's okay. And she didn't know she needed to pick a different song. And I had texted Jordan. Jordan's like, I don't think so because I've already sent all the checks in, And I was like, no worries. We will deal with it, what we need to do, right? Well, the following morning, I'm texting Frida at 7:30, like, hey, we needed an emergency, stat consultation. Something needs to happen here. And so she was like, man, I am just slammed booked, but send me the track. I'll see if I can figure it out. So then she texts me, and are you ready for this? I already told this one, but are you ready?
Okay.
She goes, Kathy, Gabby comes in at 11 seconds, I guess. The song vamps twice.
And she's like, I know what that means.
I was like, shit, I know what that means.
Yes.
Because of our last little podcast and we talked about it, I'm like, I know exactly that it loops. It loops twice. And I was like, Gabby, there it is. You're used to maybe looping once. This track loops twice. Oh, okay. So that was helpful. So even though Miss Frida wasn't available to see her in person, she could give her a thing. And then Miss Jordan stepped in and got to work with Gabby yesterday afternoon. They went through the whole song. Life is good. They figured out that little awkward piece, what they're going to do, and it's going to be fantastic. But I mean, it's just those things, right?
Yeah.
Like stepping in and being supportive and knowing your resources and developing those relationships so that, when catastrophes happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't do that for her.
Heck no.
Even if you were musical, you couldn't do that for her because she wouldn't listen to you the way she would listen to someone else. So you got to expand.
That's why we're so grateful for Jordan being Pinky's vocal instructor / life coach because
she's nailing it.
Yeah, she is. And if she ups her rates, because we've now got to pay for the life coach part of that equation.
It's priceless.
That is
That's what I told them. I said, it is priceless. Charge me what you want to charge me.
Because the kids are the kids and you're their parents and they don't listen to you. And they believe when you're like, oh, you sound so good that you're just placating them and whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't
because they're so
hold weight.
overly critical of themselves.
That's
At
why
least
like
they don't have big heads about how good they are.
no, that's the opposite.
But
problem.
I wish they had a little bit more
yeah,
self-esteem.
pump that head up a little. It's like a little shrunken head.
Just right now, just like normal sized would be good
Yeah.
instead of like a raisin.
Well, I know, and my heart was breaking.
Little tiny head.
Raisin heads.
Like in
Little pea
Beetlejuice when I had the little head. But like, it was breaking my heart when she was having her little like her little meltdown, and she's like, "But I'm gonna disappoint everyone, and it's gonna sound so horrible, and nobody's gonna like it." Like, I mean, just that was how she was feeling. She was so sincere in that moment, and I was like, Gabby, first of all, they probably don't know the song. They don't know how it's supposed to go. So even if you flub something here or
They don't know.
nobody's
No.
gonna
They
be the
don't know.
wiser. She's like, I know, but I will know. I'm like,
It's
oh,
probably gonna
God.
be a lot like the mall performance anyway. People are
Yes.
gonna be walking by and they're gonna stop and look at you for a second. And then
Yeah.
move on to the
Yeah.
next thing.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not like you have
Right.
this
An
super
undivided-
captive
Just
audience.
tell Jordan
Yeah.
to put the hat out there, So as they're walking by, they can at least drop
Put
some
money in it.
change in it.
Mhm.
Yeah, make some money off of everything.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was.
Get a little monkey that like.
All right.
Oh goodness,
yeah.
I'm in
can we-
rare form this
Can we
morning.
shut these off so I can finish my story?
All right.
You had a story you were doing?
I did.
All right,
my
yeah, we
can
goodness,
do that.
Did you not remember?
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.